Jake Carter wasn't a man who believed in miracles. He believed in wrenches, grease, and getting your hands dirty. At 26, he ran a tiny, weather-beaten garage on the outskirts of a forgotten American town, a place where rusted vehicles lined the streets, and dreams often broke down before they ever got going. Jake had no college degree, no shiny plaques on the wall, just calloused hands, a head full of engine schematics, and an old toolbox passed down from his late father. Most folks didn't take him seriously. To them, he was just the poor kid who played with bolts. One sweltering Tuesday morning, as Jake swept the shop floor, a deep rumble echoed down the road. A black pickup truck, sleek, expensive, and very out of place, pulled up to the garage, coughing smoke and jerking with every movement. It sputtered to a stop, and the door swung open. Out stepped a man in his 50s, clearly wealthy. Tailored slacks, a crisp white shirt, polished shoes. He didn't belong in a town like this. His forehead was tight with frustration as he looked at Jake. "You the mechanic?" the man asked, glancing doubtfully at the humble garage. "That's me," Jake said, wiping his hands on a rag. The man nodded toward the truck. 3 shops in 2 states couldn't fix this thing. It's a prototype, custom-built engine. If you can't fix it, I'll just junk it. Jake tilted his head, curiosity ignited. He walked over, lifted the hood, and stared at the maze of parts. It was complex. Modified fuel injection, a hybrid cooling system, some experimental wiring. This wasn't a standard engine by any means. He didn't flinch. Jake grabbed his tools and got to work, tuning out the heat, the noise, and the man pacing nearby. For the next 5 hours, he worked like a surgeon, disassembling parts, examining minute connections, and even using a few tools he'd built himself. He discovered a hidden calibration error that no one had spotted. One misaligned sensor was causing the entire system to misfire. "Try it now," Jake said finally, wiping sweat from his brow. The man slid into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the engine purred. Smooth, powerful, perfect. No sputters, no smoke, just raw performance. He stared at the dashboard, then stepped out, clearly stunned. "You fixed it," he said in disbelief. "How?" Jake just shrugged. "Sometimes machines just need someone to really listen." The man studied him, then gave a short nod, said nothing more, and drove off, his tires kicking up gravel as the truck roared down the road like a beast reborn. Jake watched him go, thinking that was the last he'd see of the mysterious stranger. But 3 days later, everything would change. Not just his career, but his life. 3 days after Jake had fixed the mysterious truck, his garage was unusually quiet, the kind of stillness that made you feel like something big was about to happen. He was under the hood of a rusty sedan, tightening. Bolts when he heard the rumble of engines, several of them. Jake stood up and wiped his hands, just as 3 black SUVs pulled into his lot. His heart skipped, the doors opened almost in unison, and out stepped the same man he had helped days ago. But this time, he wasn't alone. 2 assistants followed him, both carrying briefcases. The man walked up with a confident smile and extended his hand. "Name's Richard Halverson. I own Halverson Automotive." Jake shook his hand, stunned. That name wasn't just familiar, it was legendary. Halverson was a multi-billion-dollar automotive innovator. Their engines powered everything from concept cars to military prototypes. "I looked into you," Richard said. "No formal training, no degree, just raw skill. What you did with that engine, none of my guys could do it. You solved a puzzle we spent 6 months trying to crack." Jake was speechless. "I just followed what made sense." Richard motioned to one of his assistants, who opened a leather portfolio and handed Jake a folder. Inside was a job offer, but not just any job. It was a proposal to lead an innovation unit within Halverson Automotive. Complete creative control, full funding, a 6-figure salary to start, and most unbelievable of all, Jake would get to build and lead his own engineering team. "This isn't a handout," Richard said. "I'm investing in talent. You're not just a mechanic, Jake. You're an engineer. We just need to put you in the right garage." Jake looked down at the papers, his hands trembling slightly. Just days ago, he could barely afford lunch. Now he was being asked to lead cutting-edge development for one of the world's most advanced car companies. "But why me?" Jake asked quietly. Richard looked around at the rusty walls of the garage, the creaky lift, the ancient tools. "Because you made magic happen in a place no one believed in," he said. "That tells me you're not just brilliant, you're resourceful, and that's exactly what this industry needs." Jake didn't need time to think. He signed the offer right there, under the same flickering ceiling light that had seen his worst days. 2 months later, Jake was standing in a glass-walled lab in San Jose, California, overlooking a team of top-tier engineers who now worked under his direction. His ideas, once scribbled on the back of old invoices, were being turned into real machines. Back home, the old garage still stood, untouched, a symbol of where it all began. Jake had gone from a poor, overlooked mechanic to a respected innovator. And all it took was one impossible problem, and one man who recognized that greatness sometimes wears grease-stained overalls.